Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name's Simon Kilshaw. So I'm a music technology lecturer, so I run the music technology department down here in Swansea for the university, and we're based down in the BBC building, which is a lovely old part of the world. Quite a characterful building. But anyway, you're all welcome there because you've all got one of these swipe cards, so I suggest you come down and have a look around. We've got some really nice spaces there. But it's kind of a strange thing, really, music technology, because there's kind of a preconception about what that is. So yeah, we record bands and, grungy guitars and kind of metal stuff and that. And, a lot of our students come with that kind of mentality, I suppose. But by the time they leave us, or certainly by the time they've spent some time with us as staff, we kind of expose them to some of the things I'm going to show you today. So actually, I suppose the first thing I wanted to say is that I don't actually see much difference between my personal research and what I'll be teaching tomorrow with my students. So actually, we're kind of all on that journey together. So whereas in one sense, I'm researching my own particular things that interest me, actually the byproduct of it is that we're constantly designing the course as we go along, kind of based on what we do. I wasn't going to do the standard thing and put a PowerPoint up today. What I wanted to do today was to play you a couple of pieces to give you an insight into what they sound like, the performance etiquette of certain things that I do. I should have had a shave, really. It was only when I put that picture up I realised. But what I've got running behind me is just some stills, really, giving you a sense of the kind of instruments that I play. So my research is about digital lutherie. That's to say I'm interested in instrument building with technology. So actually it involves a lot of coding, a lot of programming. So principally my output is two things. I make software and I make music with that software. So I suppose I make tools and it's not just record with them, but I can also perform with them. And so you've got a sense in the background here of some of those kind of instruments. They're not necessarily traditional instruments. Sometimes I'll do things where through technology, sensors, these kind of things, we can extend already predetermined acoustic instruments. But actually I'm interested in new ways of performing music, new ways of inputting music as a computer musician. So I've talked in the past about at these kind of research seminars where actually what we're trying to do is to get away from the standard black and white piano roll keyboard way of inputting music, which if you went into any studio or any composer in any composer's workstation, there's always a black and white keyboard, and it's kind of this 400-year-old interface that we still use in a modern MIDI setup in a studio. It seems very strange. So, maybe it's not necessarily the physical aspect of it, but it's also kind of the sonic aspect of it, in the sense that you're not just limited by this black and white interface that's very linear in front of you, laid out that way, but there's also limitations in the sense of, well, what's actually between those notes, between that C and that C sharp? I can never get it. So I'm interested in designing, so my music needs that kind of stuff. So my stuff isn't necessarily very tonal, it's not necessarily very melodic, but it can be sometimes. But you'll get a sense of those kind of things. So what I wanted to do is show you some things of the kind of, to contextualize that somewhat, I suppose. Handily, I've got some useful information on my website. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick blast of this. It'll give you the sense that I'm going to play you this piece here. I'll give you a couple of seconds of it. It's a piece called iSound. The idea is that this is I built the software to basically track a load of eyes and to sonify them. So I'm interested in the sonification of data, essentially. Okay, so in this example, it's the eyes that's making the music. So it's tracking the movement of eyes, and you'll be able to get a sense of how certain gestures equal certain musical outputs, and you can kind of be quite creative with these sorts of things. So if you like, in a very simplistic sense, the eyes in this example replace that black and white keyboard thing that I was talking about. I'll give you 30 seconds of it. Goes on like that for a few more minutes anyway. So these things tend to start as experiments really, and I suppose one of my principal questions in my research is, what does that sound? I wonder what that sounds like. And so I try and set up environments where I can sonify things essentially. So a good example would have been if I'd have been, I don't know, I'd turn my computer around and recorded all you coming in the room this morning. There's a definitive structure to that. And over a period of time, I don't know, a few of you kind of walked in from left to right, some of you stood over there and chatted, a few more kind of dribbled in, but over a period of sort of 4 minutes or something, I'll take a snapshot of 4 minutes as a time frame, stuff happens. It's structured. In the same way as when you're cooking or when you're washing up or something. There's always kind of an order and a structure. So I'm interested in what that sounds like. So I would probably then be sonifying with some kind of movement detection, just basically people walking in the room or something. So everything is sonifiable as long as you can get hold of the data, I suppose. Okay. We'll do some listening. So I wanted to play you a couple of pieces. Recently I've been working with a brain sensor, an EEG sensor. Hence the title of my presentation today. So this is one of the pieces I want to play today. And this is inspired by, you can Google all this stuff. This is inspired by a composer called Alvin Lucier, who actually worked with John Cage. But in the 60s, long time ago, he set himself up to do a music for a solo performance where he put a little brain sensor on with a kind of John McEnroe type headband around it. It was a bit lo-fi. But from that, he had a few wires coming down and they were sort of wired up to various percussion instruments, snare drums, those kind of things. By measuring the attenuation of his alpha waves, he would impulse certain triggers and play some rhythms, you see, physical rhythms. So it's this idea of physical modeling, where it's a precursor to, if you can think it, you can hear it. That isn't my research question, can I think music? Because it's not the nature of the kind of music that I make. Let me show you how it kind of works then. If it works, is the first point. So one of the things that I do is, because of the nature of this, it can be quite crashy. I'll just warn you. But hopefully it won't. So I am interested in the music, but I'm also very interested in the technology. So this is a Bluetooth sensor. It talks quite happily to the computer at the moment. So the idea is if you wear it right, it's going to track 11 different streams of data from my brain. In its simplest form, it tracks meditation and it tracks attention. So if you like, those are two opposites. So I can kind of zone out a little bit, or I can kind of activate my mind by, looking at interesting people in the room, or reading, or, kind of depends what you're doing when you're wearing this. So I had this on last night just to see how long it would take, and of course I wanted to know what it sounded like to tuck my kids in bed. So I've got a record of that now. So all these things of what does it sound like when I'm doing this, I suppose. So the streams of data that I can tap into then, alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves, delta, eta, theta, and then they've got higher waves, they've got lower waves. So you can begin to train your brain to kind of control this stuff a little bit. But me, I'm just interested in making music. One of the other things that it does actually is track your blinking, so that's quite useful as a kind of a Boolean switch in music. You know, actually that is what one of the keys on a keyboard is. Okay. I wonder if this will. There we are. We'll give it a go. I'll just flip the audio. I'll give you kind of a 3-minute demo. It kind of evolves a little bit if I can perform this right. That's the kind of thing. It's fun, but one of the biggest challenges is how to structure something like that actually from a compositional point of view. It's where I find myself is how to shape that into a start, a beginning, over a period of time, because it's kind of just moment form, right? So tomorrow, for instance, so one of the reasons I'm doing this today is tomorrow I'm playing this particular piece in a conference in Aberystwyth, and then in a gig on Saturday in Cardiff as well. Not what I've just played you. This piece now, this Cerebral Mutterings, which is what I'll play you now. So it's taken me quite a lot of time to be able to get it to read through certain tables in the right order and to sequence certain events inside the software to be able to structure over a period of timeline how my sonic properties essentially would evolve. So if you like, I kind of map a theme really where I can superimpose my data on the top of it. So I'll play you, that was just a kind of test. If there's time, I'll let someone have a go. It'll be wild. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is I haven't really come to terms with very well. This is something I'm starting to experience a lot more while I do this, is that I come from quite a traditional musical background in the sense, I did my grades in the piano, and I was in a band, and then I grew up and all that kind of stuff. But I play instruments, and actually what I've come to realize is instruments, yeah, they look cool, but it's also something to hide behind. And in this situation, I feel quite naked's not the right word.
Exposed?
Yes, that's the one. And it's hard actually to have a lot of people just staring at you doing nothing. I'm coming to terms with it. I think it's just a confidence thing. Okay, so this piece is called Cerebral Mutterings. Check it all works.
the speaker as a word, or as a drum, or as a guitar, or is that like my traditional view of music? Could you imagine words? Can you imagine sounds, guitar, for example?
If I wanted to, I suppose I could. One of the things of when you code a piece of software to be able to do this is that you kind of also code in the sound that you want to operate. I chose, because of the kind of output that I make, this kind of quite avant-garde. So I'm an electroacoustic composer, so this is my sound world. On the other hand, you know, until Katrina just cut me and I was just about to do something else there.
Sorry.
That's fine. But to show you that, yes, you can control certain things like, I was going to control piano, for instance.
Actually, you've got a good intent moment there, huh?
Yeah, and, you know, because you can set up any kind of environment in the software, really you can choose what sound mode you want to operate in. I did want to finish, I know I probably freaked everyone out a little bit with the kind of sound world. I will do this, Katrina.
Yeah, go for it.
I think one of the reasons I was showing you all those slides a little bit earlier was to give you a sense that actually I work with lots and lots of different sensors, so it's not just a brain sensor. And I also wanted to show you that I can make tonal music as well if that's what the kids want, you know. It's a little bit like that. So this is kind of similar. It's a muscle tracker. But it's quite clever because you can, well, it's got lots of different sensors in it. I won't sort of go on about it too much. But I wanted to play you a 160-year-old piece. I'm going to play you a piece of Chopin. It's not very long.
Go for it.
If it works. It's all about, I always say that, but is it going to work? Yeah, so this is a Polish dance. It's not very long. I think it was written in, I don't know when it was written. Very long time ago. But it's actually a really, I do this a lot with my students with this kind of sensor-based stuff, because whereas the examples that I just played you are kind of quite evolving in terms of their soundscapes, it's all to do with the resonant portion. Something like Chopin, which is dots on paper, certainly this piece, it's all events, it's all blocked chords. And so it makes it very easy to define them as musical events, little phrases that you can actually just essentially trigger. So this is one of the pieces that it's an invisible piano, you'll get the idea.
Wow.
To sum it up, it's not just about triggering musical events. Actually, I'm interested in the expressive parameters in music and how we can turn something that's traditionally quite robotic, I suppose, digital stuff, into map the human expressive qualities that sometimes that filters out from performance. But it's something that I know that computer musicians kind of long for with this sort of technology. Catherine, I'm done.
Oi! Any question for himself here? Yeah, Tom.
What sort of process do you have to go through to actually program? Obviously, there's some sort of input coming in. Certainly, with something like the brain set, the sort of brain sensor, or the one you just have in your arm. What sort of process do you have to go through to make the computer convert what's coming in into, something sonic, something that we can sort of listen to? And I mean, how long does it take to write those programs? And
It's probably the most interesting question you could have asked me, actually. It's a strange thing when you're sitting in front of... I wear lots of different hats when I do this. So when I sit down with a computer and a sensor, I ask myself, am I programming? Am I composing? Am I improvising? Am I performing? And actually, it's all those elements kind of come together in this... there's a lot of symbiotic energy around that. And so I think of it as a very musical process. Actually, another way of answering your questions is that it's essentially pure maths. It's just maths. And then suddenly, I didn't like maths at school. I did classics at university, funnily enough. But so maths, suddenly I'm interested in the beauty of maths and the relationship between maths and music. It's a beautiful thing.
What software do you use to program this?
So I program in Pure Data, which is an object-oriented programming environment. But it's open source, so it's great for our students, and they can kind of do this stuff at home as well.
And you're using 12 channels? Because my background is medical devices, I know them, and electroencephalography is 12 channels or less?
I get 8 streams, alpha, beta, but then there's higher alpha, there's lower alpha. Not that I understand all this, it goes up to theta, and then I get 2, one for meditation, one for attention.
So you assign the sound to these frequencies and the amplitudes. It's just
yes, in fact, it's the other way around. You assign that data to sonic property, whether it be grain position, length, because I'm interested in granular synthesis, so it might be the nature of those particular grains in terms of their pitch, in terms of their position in the stereo field. So it's not just frequency and amplitude.
And the last was three-dimensional accelerometer. It was
Yes.
finding the minus z.
Exactly. In fact, it's really, really simple. There's just an invisible switch there. And
Did you try Fibonacci numbers like?
no, not
things?
yet.
Okay.
Is it pure mathematics that you deal with, or like applied mathematics? Like, do you do your own stuff, or do you just use the concepts that are predefined?
Oh, there's nothing predefined.
Okay.
So you always start with a blank sheet.
Because that was like really cool. That was so
Oh,
cool.
One more at the end.
So for me, like music's a lot of it is emotion. You're talking about trying to express those things that sort of more linear input device wouldn't be able to do. Do you get like a different sound if you put your headset on and you're experiencing sort of really kind of profound grief or happiness, or I know emotions and brain activity are perhaps a separate thing, but do you get different sounds, and does the program interpret it so that you actually get quite a mournful sound if you're upset, or quite a sort of, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Obviously, happiness in music is a lot of it's major and minor and stuff, and that's not really, it's kind of different to what you're doing. But
Yes. Now you're a guitarist, aren't you?
yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a little bit like if you said to me, can you get if I picked up my guitar and wanted it to sound like a piano, could it sound like a piano? That instrument is what you make it. Right? So if you decide to pick up the guitar, it'll always sound like a guitar. That's what your sound is. Whereas in answer to your question, what I would do is I would set up a scenario of, in a very simplistic sense, scary music, happy music, floaty music, whatever it might be, and then I would probably use the system to kind of scroll through that depending on activity. I haven't had it on in moments of grief, but I did have it on when my wife came through the door and told me off last night for, well, I won't tell you what she told me off, but suddenly it went rah through the speakers. My kids thought it was hilarious.